All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict show. I'm your host, Dr. David Oualaalou. We're excited to present you today with a guest, and this guest is our sponsor from Noble Gold, is Mr. Collin Plume. Good to have you, Collin.
Thank you for being here. Love your show, and obviously it's very timely with what you're talking about. And geopolitics, I think, is always in conflict. So I think your show is going to be around probably for the next 5,000 years. It's a great topic. It's never in conjunction. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've been dealing with it for over 30 years so far, and I'm only surprised as things move on. So,
Yeah.
and just for our viewers to know, this is the reason why I address sometimes the issues of gold. Is because you need to understand, the viewers needs to understand the link between geopolitics and gold, or finance in general term. And this is why we have Collin with us today. Personally, thanking him for carving out time for us. He's a busy CEO for the company, and we are so grateful to have you. Well, without wasting time, Collin, I'm going to ask you the first question. What do you think of the BRICS currency that's going to be launched soon, that will be backed by gold? How do you think this rapid de-dollarization is going to impact the global financial system?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at countries wanting to barter and trade, they've always used gold as an instrument. There's a lot of gold in the Bank of New York. There's a lot of gold in Switzerland that are owned by central banks. And typically what they'll do is they'll trade and barter with that. So they've been doing that for a long time. And that's why gold's been around for 5,000 years, because when you trade and barter with something that has consistent value, it's a very equitable trade for both sides. Whereas, if you trade for oil for the dollar, and depending on how long that trade takes, the person that pays with the dollar is probably getting a much better value as the dollar continues to lose value. So creating a currency that these countries, the BRIC countries, a lot of these major transactions that they're doing, for them to use this BRIC currency, which will be backed by gold, will give them a lot of strength in trading and bartering. And that's really what they're looking to achieve. The central banks all over the world have been shrinking their dollar deposits in pretty massive amounts. If you go back 10, 12 years ago, most central banks had in the high 60% in terms of actual dollars or debt, US debt, that they carried. Now we're in the high 50s. We're at 58, 59% in terms of central banks holding just dollars. And I think with this new currency, it's going to continue to go down from there. I don't think people are going to want to continue to hold dollars if there's a currency that actually is backed by gold. And the reason that it's going to be a strong currency is because it'll have something pegged to it, which is what we used to have with our currency. That's why for so many years our currency was so strong. But once we got off the gold standard completely in 1971, even though Nixon said it was temporary, it wasn't temporary. And now we're just backed by nothing. And it allows us to spend, allows Congress and everyone to spend way too much money, and it devalues our currency. So this BRIC currency will be a competition to the dollar. I'm interested to see if it's actually going to be a real currency or it's a digital currency. I don't think they've really said what it's going to be at this point. But Russia obviously has a strong reason for wanting this because they're sanctioned all over the world, so they want this, and it'll be interesting to see what the denomination is, which they haven't included. How much gold per their currency they're going to be required to hold. But everything now is so easy to even if they did a digital currency, it's so easy to know how much gold they should have. They can audit the vaults. So they can make a very strong case for a currency. I think China has been wanting something like this. They released the renminbi, their currency. They've always tried to be in a position where they were the power currency, but because they don't release their books in a way that anybody can trust, it's never really got any traction. So I think that this new currency backed by gold could do very well.
Well, this is why we've been noticing for example, Russia and China have been piling gold for a while. When I was in Washington, D.C., I was aware of, at that time, two planes flying out of Caracas, Venezuela, to Moscow. They were full with gold. A
Yeah.
year later, it was another plane flew from Switzerland to China. They were full
Mhm.
of gold. And to me back then,
Yep.
it was the idea of what are they amassing this gold for? So that
Right.
makes perfect sense, Colin, what you just explained. So,
Yeah, and the
uh,
UAE also has increased their gold holdings this year. I think they're up by almost 40%
wow.
in terms of their holdings, which is, I think, is pretty interesting for the UAE to amass that much gold
Mhm.
as a central bank. I think they're looking to become more of a trading partner with the world. The UAE has been a place that people have always bought gold because there's no taxes there.
Mhm.
And it's a way for people to move money out of Europe. And so it's been a safe haven location for a lot of wealthy people, investors. But the country of UAE is actually has bought a tremendous amount of gold for themselves, which is quite interesting. I think they want to become more of a trading partner with the world, and it seems like the Middle East they're trying to divest away from oil. Obviously, they
Yeah.
realize they'll have more oil than they'll run before we run out, because we're moving in so many different directions with so many different types of ways to power things through electric and all the things that are out there. So the Middle East is really looking to divest. That's why they're building infrastructure. That's why Saudi Arabia's really focused on building a lot of architectural things, a lot of homes. They're trying to divest their economy and get into something besides oil, and I think they believe having some gold there for trading and bartering is going to be a necessity for them going forward.
Yeah. So how do you envision, for example, investors, what they're going to be doing now? Because if I were an investor thinking long term, I'm going to have to start to have a strategy in place regarding, I may as well just invest in gold because that dollar might not be there 10 years from today or even 5 years from today.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of states here that have gone in this direction. Texas is trying to do a currency
Hmm.
backed by gold. Utah has, and there's 5 other states that actually will take gold to pay off taxes or debts to the state,
Hmm.
which, as you can imagine, has been very profitable, especially for Utah. If someone comes in and pays off some of their state tax in gold, and Utah, the state gets to keep that as opposed to keeping the dollar. That's a great way for that state to grow. So I think what investors are going to start to realize is that getting some physical gold at home, having it stored as a safety play, is going to make the most sense for them going forward. And when you look at gold, the arguments have always been that it doesn't pay a dividend and that it's not like some of the other investments out there. But if you look at the one thing that gold has always done through time is always kept up with the cost of living. If you go back, 100 years from now, and you look at a 1 ounce gold piece, a $20 gold piece, that could pay for as many goods as it could 100 years ago, and today even more. I mean, $100, $20 in gold, a 1 ounce gold piece, you could buy a suit, you could pay for groceries, you could pay your rent. I mean, it was $20 was a lot of value. That same 1 ounce of gold today is worth, $2,100, let's say. It could still do a lot of the same things it could do 100 years ago. So it's been able to keep up with the cost of living. And I think as people are moving into the retirement stage, that is the most important thing for everybody, to keep up with the cost of living, keep up with how everything's gotten so expensive. And, inflation has just been astronomical. And yes, it's slowing down, but the cost of food, everything that we buy every day has gone up so dramatically. So the gold is the position that people are taking to keep up so they can cover the cost of the goods that they need to survive.
Well, I did notice recently I was overseas in Eastern Europe, and I went over to Africa. And one of the things I checked, believe it or not, Colin, I did check on the prices of gold in both locations, in Europe and in Africa. And I was very surprised that I'm noticing the increase in value of the gold.
Sure.
And I was told, like, well, it's getting sort of pricey only if people are smart enough to invest
Right.
in gold. Because I told them why the prices are going up. He said, is the value of the gold that is
Yeah.
going up. So how do
Well,
you see that?
Yeah, and I mean, Europe is opening up their eyes, I think, a lot too, because someone living in Europe, and many of those countries are their retirement is pegged towards some type of pension. But if that pension is not going to cover it, and that's really what's happening now, is a lot of Europeans are realizing that, their pension system, it seems great and it seems good, but it's not going to cover everything that they need through retirement. And that's why you have countries like London, England, and a lot of other places that are starting to offer alternative investments like gold as something to accompany their pension schemes that they have in those countries. And those countries are a lot of those socialist countries, the way that they do it is you're living, vacations and the time off is really dramatic kind of through your whole life. But it does make it near the end, 70, 80, 90, when you really need a lot to kind of survive, there's not as much in the coffers there. We sort of, the way we handle it here in the US is sort of opposite the way they do in Europe. They have this kind of great lifestyle. They can go on 6 weeks, 8 weeks of vacation that's paid for by the government. And it's easy, the way the jobs are handled and time off. But then when you're retiring at 70, 80, and 90, there's maybe not going to be as much there as potentially what could be here in the US. The US, with our Roth vehicles and our traditional IRA vehicles, you can really stockpile a lot of wealth in those accounts. You can do it in a safe way. Obviously gold is a big option, silver's a big option, but you can defer a lot of taxes. So there are vehicles today that allow people to really think about what's going to happen later on in life. And that's why really focusing today, if you're close to retirement or near retirement, and thinking about, okay, what do I need to live? I'm going to factor in inflation at 6 to 8%. What do I need to cover those things, for the next 20, 30 years? And people are living, much longer than they used to. So it's important to start doing that planning now and really looking at what you're going to need, and also trying to anticipate the increases in the cost of goods that we're all seeing every year.
Yeah, well, very, very interesting. I got a chance to learn more about Noble Gold as a company. And just for our viewers to know, Noble Gold is one of our sponsors, and we are very, very grateful for that. Just for our viewers, Collin, either here in the US or around the world, I would like for you to just give us a snapshot about Noble Gold. I want them to hear it from you.
Yeah. So I was in commercial real estate for many years in the insurance business, and I transitioned into gold almost about 14 years ago. I worked for a company that's no longer in business, and sort of learned the ropes of gold and silver and IRAs, and really just became enthralled with it, and then decided to open up Noble Gold almost about 8 years ago. And we're a family-run business. Really love precious metals. We have a unique culture at Noble Gold. We call it the Noble Gold family. We have the highest retention for employees in the whole industry in terms of retention. We have a 95% retention for our employees because we really care about the people that work for us. It's really important. And it starts from me down. I mean, it's the biggest part of my job is making sure the people work for us are happy and fed and they feel like it's an environment that they can grow into. And I think that really translates into the customer service that we offer to our clients. If people review us, this month alone, we're averaging, in a typical month, we're averaging between 60 and 80 positive reviews. And these are real clients that have had an experience with us. And I think what it is that we care about the people that work here. We tell them that what's important is relationships with the people they're talking to on the phone. I know everything's going to AI and all these things that are happening. We have live people can talk to here in the US on the phone. You're going to talk to a regular person about, questions that you have. So we're sort of moving in the opposite direction in a lot of ways of some of the tech and stuff that's happening out there. We focus on people. That's our focus, and we've always been that way. And, we really want to make sure that the client has an amazing experience. So, one of the things that we do in the IRAs that nobody does is when the metals ship to the depository, we have the vault manager who's already verified the metals, takes your metals out on the table, and he takes a picture of your gold and silver, and we send you a picture of that. So you have that. So you can see the actual gold and silver that you purchased. We're the only ones that do it. We pay for that service. We pay for them to do it. The vault manager signs it so you can see exactly what you bought. And then they shrink wrap your gold and silver and they slide it on its own shelf. So it's the little things like this that we've always done to give client that comfort. And I think that's really translated into all these happy clients. And I think as the things change in our economy, as the dollar gets weaker, people are going to more and more want gold. They're going to want silver. It's become more important for them. And so many people, when you read reviews, they just say, I'm so happy I got into gold and silver. It was the right time for me. So really, at the end of the day, Noble Gold is about customer service and really the family dynamic that we've created. And we will always have, as we have this business, is really just focus on the clients and then the people working for us.
Well, I do have one of my neighbors, believe it or not, Collin, did watch the promotion and I kind of went on the link and clicked on it and checked there because they were concerned about their investments. And I said, just check out the company. I mean, I read through it. I researched it. And this is why we are so glad you're here, because our viewers are here in the US and around the world now gets the chance to hear it directly from you.
Yeah,
this is what's important.
Yeah, and I love and I would say out of our staff, probably 90% have some kind of gold and silver themselves. I mean, they're not just talking to people about it; they own it. Some of my staff have a lot of gold and silver. I've seen a lot of gun safes with filled with gold and silver for some of the people that work for us. So we are a fit for anybody. And we're the one thing I want to talk about, things that are happening in the investment world is some people talk about how much money you have and what's important. A lot of these investment companies, they don't want to touch you unless you have $250,000. We want to make sure that we're available to people that want to purchase from us. And we do have some minimums in place, but we really focus on everyday people. And so anybody that's looking to get information that sees this, call us. We can walk you through the process. And sometimes, listen, it doesn't, it's not a good fit. We'll tell you, hey, maybe there's a local coin shop, that can handle you or help you with what, and we'll give you some advice about some of the products you want to look at and things you want to avoid. But we're here for everybody. We're a regular company, regular people. So no one should feel intimidated that they shouldn't call. They should get information from us. And that's really our job, is to provide that information to anybody that calls in.
So great. This is why, to our viewers, I'm going to have the link down below for the Noble Gold. You can check it out and reach out to the company if you're interested in investing in gold. As Collin said, those are real people. This is not a virtual. They will walk you through the process. Absolutely. And because the world is changing financially, and you better have some assets that you could fall back on. Gold is one of those assets. So
yeah, and I was just going to say, to kind of sum up, one of my oldest clients who's been buying from me for about 13 years, the way he always looks at it is that he believes that buying gold is like buying insurance. The reason he continues to buy gold, if the dollar got stronger and things were getting better in the economy and we were becoming more secure, he wouldn't buy gold. But he said, every year I look up and the dollar's getting weaker, inflation's continuing to move. And so as long as those dynamics keep up, I'm going to continue to buy gold and silver to protect myself. And it's just like, your homeowner's policy. Every year they say, your house used to be $300,000 a build, and then next year it's $308,000. It always goes up a little bit because they want to protect you, right? It's the same idea of why a lot of our clients buy gold and silver, is they like that insurance blanket. So yeah, anyone that's interested, give us a call. Check out our website at Noble Gold Investments. Obviously make sure that you mention that you heard about us on the show, and we appreciate your partnership and love what you're talking about and keeping people informed. And, so many times in this country, like in terms of geopolitics, you're going to get a view of that channel, the thing that they're trying to push. And I think the nice thing about your show is that you're trying to bring more of a macro, analysis and give more information. So, because so much of the information that we get here in the U.S. is not filtered in a way that people can understand it. And also they're not getting the right information, especially things happening in Europe, especially things happening overseas in the Middle East. There's a lot happening out there that people aren't aware of. So I appreciate our partnership in the show and just happy to be on here today.
Well, it's same here, Collin. So we truly appreciate your sponsorship here. So to our viewers, check it out once again. Check out that link down below here. And I hope you find this very informative. Words from the CEO of Noble Gold, Collin Plume. We look forward to seeing you next time. As always, prepare yourself for a changing world order. Till next time, guys. Bye bye.